Everybody remembers the big names from vintage drag racing: the Hemi, the 427, the 409. And if you listen to enough muscle car stories, you'd think winning the quarter mile was simple. Take the biggest engine you can find, put it in the lightest car possible, and hold on. But that's the lie. Because some of the fastest drag cars from the 1950s through the 1970s were hiding secret weapons that had little to do with simply adding horsepower. One company drilled more than 100 holes into a frame. Another moved the transmission to the back. Chrysler moved the wheels. Mercury practically threw away the production chassis. And by the early 1970s, one drag car was being analyzed with technology connected to America's space program. These 8 cars show what happened when engineers realized that if you couldn't make more power, you could change everything else. Every car has a story. Every racer has a claim. Every legend has a lie. And this is the fastest lie in America. Number 8. The 1958 Jocko Streamliner. In the 1950s, most drag racers were obsessed with engines, fuel, and traction. Robert Jocko Johnson was thinking about something else: the AIR. Most early dragsters left the chassis, engine, suspension, and driver exposed. Johnson took a different approach. He wrapped the car in a full-envelope fiberglass body. Aerodynamics had not yet become an obsession, but Johnson was already asking, what if you stopped wasting horsepower, pushing air out of the way? With Jim Jazzy Nelson driving, the Streamliner ran 8.35 seconds at more than 178 miles per hour in 1959. Its secret weapon wasn't under the hood. It was aerodynamics. And if that sounds advanced for the 1950s, wait until you see what Pontiac tried next. Number 7. The 1963 Pontiac Swiss Cheese Catalina. Pontiac had plenty of horsepower, but the Catalina was still a big car. So engineers attacked the weight. Steel pieces were replaced with aluminum wherever possible: hood, fenders, bumpers, brackets, and other parts. Then they went after the frame. Roughly 120 holes were drilled into the frame rails. That gave the car one of the greatest names in drag racing history: the Swiss Cheese Catalina. Only a small number of these 421 Super Duty lightweights were built before GM pulled back from factory racing. One Packer Pontiac example recorded an NHR AC stock mark of 12.27 seconds at more than 114 miles per hour. How do we make the car faster? Drill holes in it. Its secret weapon was extreme weight reduction, but Pontiac wasn't finished experimenting with weight. On the next car, they didn't just remove it, they moved it. Number 6. The 1963 Pontiac Super Duty Tempest Wagon. Yes, a station wagon. Pontiac built only 6 Super Duty Tempest wagons, along with 6 related Le Mans coupes. Under the hood was a Super Duty 421 rated at roughly 405 horsepower. But the strangest part was underneath. The Tempest used Pontiac's unusual rope drive system, sending power to a special transaxle mounted at the rear of the car. That put important drivetrain mass closer to the rear tires, exactly where a drag racer wanted extra weight when the light turned green. Pontiac also used aluminum front panels, deleted equipment like the heater and radio, and sent the cars out wearing 326 badges. A 421 drag racing wagon pretending to be a 326. That is sleeper culture before anyone needed a name for it. Its secret weapon was weight placement, but the next cars were so unusual that drag racing barely knew what to call them. Number 5. The 1964 Dodge Chargers SFX. Here's a piece of Mopar history many people miss. Dodge used the name Chargers before the production Dodge Charger existed. These were wild exhibition machines built with Dragmaster and powered by huge wedge engines topped with 671 superchargers. They put blown drag racing power into something that still looked like a full-bodied Dodge. There was one problem. NHRA didn't really have a normal class for them. The cars eventually ran around 10.30 seconds at roughly 135 miles per hour and helped push drag racing toward what became funny car. Their secret weapon was forced induction. But Chrysler was learning something important. Horsepower didn't matter if the tires couldn't use it. So next, engineers changed something nobody expected: the location of the wheels. Number 4. Dick Landy's 1965 Dodge Coronet AFX. Look closely, and something seems wrong. The wheels aren't where they belong. That was intentional. On Chrysler's radical altered wheelbase racers, the rear axle was moved forward and the front wheels were moved forward too. The goal was weight transfer. Early drag tires could only handle so much power, so Chrysler changed the geometry of the entire car to help the rear tires bite. Dick Landy's Coronet became one of the best-known examples. The cars looked almost cartoonish, but they worked. That strange appearance helped popularize a name for the emerging class, funny car. Detroit had crossed a line. Engineers were no longer just making the engine faster. They were redesigning the car around the launch. Its secret weapon was geometry. And once engineers were willing to move the wheels, somebody eventually asked an even more dangerous question. Why do we need the production chassis at all? Number 3. The 1966 Dyno Don Nicholson Mercury Comet Eliminator 1. At first glance, it looked like a Mercury comet. Underneath, it was becoming something completely different. The Eliminator 1 used a purpose-built tube chassis beneath a lightweight body. Then came the feature that changed funny cars forever. The entire body tilted upward. Instead of opening the hood, the crew could lift the body and expose almost the entire racing machine. The Comet had become a shell over a specialized drag chassis, helping establish the architecture funny cars would use for generations. By now, racers had fought the air, drilled frames, moved weight, added blowers, moved wheels, and nearly thrown away the production car underneath. Its secret weapon was a purpose-built chassis hiding beneath a familiar body. But number 2 proves the factories weren't only engineering cars, they were engineering the rules. Number 2. The 1969 AMC Superstock AMX. AMC wanted respect on the drag strip, where Ford, Chevrolet, Pontiac, and Chrysler already had years of history. So AMC teamed with Hearst and created the Superstock AMX. To qualify for the class, AMC needed to build enough cars to make it a legitimate production-based entry. The target was 50. AMC built 52. Not 5,000, not 500. 52. The cars used AMC's 390 VA8 with dual carburetors, a cross-ram intake, aggressive gearing, headers, weight reduction, and drag-specific driveline pieces. These weren't built for cruising. They were built around the rulebook. Properly prepared Superstock AMXs could run deep into the 11s. AMC's secret weapon was homologation. Build just enough, use the rules, and turn the rulebook into part of the engineering department. And then we reach number 1. The Motown Missile Dodge Challenger. From a distance, it looked like another early Challenger race car. Behind the scenes, Chrysler treated it like a laboratory. The Motown Missile became a rolling testbed for engines, transmissions, rear-end combinations, suspension settings, hood scoops, wheelie bars, and other changes. But the real surprise was the program's connection to Chrysler's aerospace engineering world, including rocket development work in Huntsville, Alabama. The team traveled with specialized metering and recording equipment. In other words, data acquisition, in the early 1970s, on a drag car. Instead of relying only on a stopwatch, driver feel, and reading spark plugs after a pass, engineers could measure what the car was doing and compare changes. That is why the Motown Missile is number 1. Not simply because it was fast, but because it shows where the entire story was heading. Think about what happened in barely more than a decade. Jocko Johnson fought the AIR. Pontiac drilled holes in a frame. Then Pontiac moved drivetrain weight toward the rear. Dodge added a supercharger so radical, the existing classes barely knew what to do with it. Chrysler moved the wheels. Mercury abandoned the production chassis. AMC engineered around the rulebook, and Chrysler brought sophisticated data collection to the drag strip. So, yes, the HEMIS mattered, the 427s mattered, the 409s mattered. But horsepower was never the whole story. That is one of the biggest lies we remember about vintage drag racing. Sometimes the secret weapon was aerodynamics, sometimes weight, sometimes traction, geometry, chassis design, the rulebook, or data. The engines got more powerful. But the real revolution was that the thinking got smarter. And some of the smartest ideas were hiding inside drag race cars, most people barely remember. Which one surprised you the most? And what forgotten vintage drag race car should have made this list? Tell me in the comments. Every car has a story, every racer has a claim, every legend has a lie, and this is the fastest lie in America.